This is your last chance to get the old Kappa with seasonal just around the corner as soon as even within a week possibly. So today we're going to be looking at what BSG have changed around Kappa, when we think seasonal actually is going to be, as we've had some new information that leads us to believe that it could be as soon as a week's time, and some new information around the progression in the new season that we haven't seen before that was released by Nikita over on Twitter. So first up, we're going to talk about the Kappa container. So let's have a look at this post that Escape from Tarkov put over on Twitter. In addition to the seasonal system, update 1.1 will include a wide range of other changes, basically saying they're changing the requirements for Collector, which is the task that you need to actually get Kappa in the first place. That's the one where you have to collect all the stream items and do all the other stuff, at least at the moment. So here it says many side tasks will be removed from the list of requirements, leaving only a few, such as Shootable in Heaven. In exchange, one of the new requirements will be achieving level 4 traders with all the traders and the separate fence reputation threshold. So if we go and look at what the new task unlock requirements actually are, is level 4 loyalty with all the major traders, Therapist, Prapor, Peacekeeper, Mechanic, Jaeger, Skier, Ragman. Obviously, you don't need to do ref to level 4 as well, because otherwise that would mean anyone who doesn't play Arena or doesn't have Arena wouldn't be able to do it. So it's just the regular traders. Then you've got Reputation with Fence level 3, which isn't actually that bad. Character level 40, which you pretty much have to do to get to level 4 traders in the first place. And then you've got Chemical Part 4, A Shooter Born in Heaven, Tarkov Shooter Part 4, and So It Good Part 4. Honestly, of those, So It Good Part 4 is probably one of the ones that's more annoying. We'll have to see what happens with task reworks and stuff like that, because that's the one where you have to take the huge Sobrano armor and then shoot it with the blicky, or get your friend, or blow yourself on barrels, or get shot by the border sniper, or all sorts of weird cheese. So hopefully BSG have dealt with that, because that's actually one of the more annoying tasks within this particular subset. So what else they said here was that, alongside the fact that they're changing it, well, what happens about people who already had Kappa before? Obtaining the Kappa secure container under the new requirements will grant a new achievement. So the unique Kappa Path achievement will no longer be obtainable once the first season begins. And that was the achievement that you used to get up until, well, in whoever knows when seasonal's coming out, in a week's time or something. You got the Kappa Path achievement for getting the Kappa container with the old crazy requirements where you had to do pretty much everything. I did finally manage to do that in 1.0 myself. But then after seasonal releases, you're no longer going to be able to get that achievement. So if you're quite close, it's probably worth spending some time, especially this weekend, trying to finish it off if you only need 1 or 2 more quests. If you're a long way away, then it's probably not worth bothering unless you really think you can put a bunch of grind in and you've got some holiday or something like that. Because after this seasonal comes out, you're still going to be able to get Kappa with these new requirements, so it's going to be a lot easier than it was before. It's basically a handful of quests and level 4 traders, really. But you will get a new achievement and you won't get the old Kappa Path one. So that will be locked away forever once seasonal comes out. So this brings us to the next question then of exactly when is seasonal coming? We still don't know an exact date, but it's narrowing in based on things that we're seeing in game. So first off, Nikita posted on the 16th that Chord Breach Season 1 is planned for the end of July. We all know with BSG timelines, things can slip and stuff like that. So since then, we had another update because of the current event that's out there at the moment, which is Blackout. They posted something else basically telling us when the end of the event is. And because this is the event that directly precedes the seasonal patch as per the existing roadmap, this gives us a little bit more indication of when it might be. So at the end of this blurb, you can see the in-game event Blackout will end on the 27th of July. Complete the associated task to earn an achievement. And so that is actually on Monday. So that is in 4 days time. And so given that Nikita said it's going to be end of July and that this event is ending on the 27th, it would be hard to see seasonal come in before then, which means you probably have this weekend, and then it really could drop any day from the 27th to 28th up until the 31st. So I think best guess is that it's probably going to be around the middle of next week, something like that. But who knows, it could slip into the beginning of August. It is possible, but you've got to keep on your toes, make sure you're looking out for it, because I don't think we'll get that much notice, especially given that this event is the one that directly precedes it. I don't know whether we're going to have a normal pre-wipe or not. So it may just come as a surprise and appear out of nowhere, especially given that our main accounts aren't wiping. We have seen some new information about seasonal and about some of the perks. There were questions about it that Nikita has answered, but before we do that, let's just have a very quick look at what's happened with the Blackout event. I've been away, I've been on holiday, so I've not played much of it at the moment, but the labs raid time has increased to 30 minutes in PvP and 35 minutes in PvE. There's reduced Black Division numbers in PvE because you're basically playing on your own, because Black Division just deletes all of the other AI in the game, and increased the PMC bot spawn chance in PvE as well. Now, there was one big sticking point about this particular quest line. There's about 5 quests in the quest line to do, and the final one was killing players in PvP and in PvE to finish the final one. I think it was like 15 or something. So they've changed this now to the final event being adjusted in both PvE and PvE. Now it counts as any target on labs. So this is infinitely easier than getting 15 PMC kills, because the problem is that Black Division ends up just killing a lot of players, and getting 15 players is really difficult. And the same in PvE, where a lot of the PMC AI was getting killed by Black Division as well. They've increased some of the loot spawn chances too, and they've added some more labs access key trade offers, therapist and mechanic as well, which we'll go and have a quick look at now before we move on to the rest of the changes that we can expect when seasonal drops. So jumping on the flea real quick, you can see there's actually quite a lot, and they're pretty cheap on the flea market as well. But there are a bunch from the traders too. If you look on here, this is a little bit easier to see actually in the trader window. So we'll pop over to that. We're going to ignore the ref one and just look at therapist and mechanic. So if you go to therapist, you can see here, if you go into the key specifically at therapist level 2, you have 2 Terror Group Labs cards for 75k. You then have 4 Terror Group Labs cards for 125k, and then you finally have 7 Labs cards for 199k. So depending on how much you want to spam it, you have to pay a little bit more or a little bit less. Not really much point doing this because, as I said, a lot of people are putting them up on the flea for 90k anyway, so not really much point. Mechanic himself, he also has some as well. So we go on to the keys section. He's got this guy here, which is Bolbex and the PGWs. There's one down at level 1 for 4 weapons parts. And this gives you a plethora of different options to be able to go and get labs cards. It's a shame they didn't make labs free, to be honest with you, but at only 90k or 75k from the therapist for the first 2, it's not really that bad. Alright, so on Tarkov TV, Nikita talked a lot about quality of life, about changing the game to make it a bit easier for new players. They've already added that like quest marker thing so that you broadly know where something is and it guides you to it. But there's some other things that are coming too. So let's dive into this because they've released yet again something else. This actually just came out yesterday and was what prompted me to kind of make this video in general. Was that update 1.1, which is the seasonal update, will introduce a variety of quality of life improvements. So notable changes will improve the availability of equipment in the early stages of progression. Many entry-level ammo types will become available much earlier. For example, 7.62x39 T45M will be purchasable from Prapor right from the start of the game. This is a huge change with how it's been previously. Over the past couple of years, you could only get, I don't think you could even get FMJ. You had to use HP and SP from the beginning for 7.62. So being able to buy something that actually does kind of deal with class 4 armor right from the bat, this is going to change the balance dramatically in favor of weapons with good bullets as opposed to trying to find class 4 and then being kind of impenetrable to other people outside of headshots. The character level requirements for earlier trader levels will be reduced, so you won't have to get as much reputation to go up the trader levels. So this is actually going to be a big benefit for everybody, but probably most notably for standard accounts. There's a really big pinch point bottleneck around Jaeger, so depending on exactly how much they lower it by, that might make that process much, much easier. And the total trade volume requirement will be removed entirely. It's not 100% certain what this means, but I'm pretty sure it means that you won't have any buy quantities to actually go up to the next trade level. So for example, right now you have to spend, 800k with Prapor to get to level 2, and then you have to spend 1.5 million with him, something like that, which means that people have to sometimes just buy and sell items off the trader to just burn money to get up to the the amount spent so you could get to the next trade level. It looks like they're going to be removing that completely, which is interesting. I don't think it's necessarily good or bad, but it just makes it a little bit easier to progress. Everybody who played the hardcore wipe will remember when it was, multiple millions to get up to the next trade level, and it was really quite painful. So this will make it easier for newer players for sure. We've also got early hideout development is also being streamlined, construction times for the initial modules getting reduced. I don't think that matters too much because you still need to collect the items. Also, there will be less dependency on other modules and found in raid items. So you won't need to go as strictly through the tech tree as it is right now. Because at the moment it's like getting Intel level 1, it requires 3 different parts from 3 other things, and those also require, security and generator, rest space, and blah, blah, blah. So it seems like they're simplifying it a bit so you can go into the specialization that you want to earlier without having to go through their strict tree in particular. And also you won't need to rely on found in raid items as much. The only thing that I would say about this is that we know from the global perks that there is no found in raid for the hideout anyway on seasonal. So this is going to affect more so like PvE and PvP permanent than seasonal right now. But obviously this will then be in place for future seasons as well if no found in raid for the hideout goes away. So at the moment it's not going to have too much effect, but it'll be interesting to see how that affects it like later down the line, and also for people who go and play new accounts over on PvP permanent, that kind of thing. So likewise, as we previously mentioned, insurance will be unavailable in Code Breach season. but it will become more convenient in PvP permanent and PvE zone. Insured items will be returned more quickly, though the cost will increase slightly. In addition, Jaeger will now offer his own insurance service. While significantly more expensive, it will return lost items in just a couple of hours. So that could be kind of interesting if you've got some good gear and you want to insure that with Jaeger specifically, and you're able to drop that in a bush with a teammate. It means that you're not having to buy loads of new things while you're waiting for your stuff to come back. So we'll see what the price is like on that, but they're adding some more things for insurance to make it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, these changes will make character progression smoother and allow players to spend more time on active gameplay and pursuing long-term goals. So we will see, and we'll see how that pans out. So the final section is we got some updates on the seasonal perks. So I did a full video about the global modifiers, the personal positive and personal negatives that you might want to take based on the way they look and the way that the season might go and things that may be good or bad for your account. But some of the stuff we didn't really have that much information about, and Nikita did actually answer quite a few questions on Twitter again. So I had some questions about personality vacuum, because previously that was required for doing prestige, past Prestige 1, and he also needed it for some other stuff. So he's basically said if you take personality vacuum, you will still be able to obtain Kappa, so there's not going to be any requirements around charisma or anything for Kappa anymore because these things have been reworked. For number 2, connection to arena, so it will exist within seasonal, which I don't think is necessarily too bad. I really did not like it within hardcore because I didn't think it worked for that, but within seasonal it's more like the base game, so I don't think it's actually too bad, but with a logic similar to PvE. So you can gain experience, skill experience, and mastery from there. So for those people who aren't aware or don't really follow arena at all, if you play in arena and you get endurance, strength, assault rifle skill, whatever that might be, that flows from arena to all your accounts. So it flows to your PvP permanent account, it flows to your PvE account, and it also flows into your seasonal account now as well. Some people have been surprised, me included, where I've opened up PvE after 1.0 and I've not played it, and then suddenly I'm level 25 because I've ended up with a bunch of stuff from arena that I've been playing for my main account that's also flowed into PvE. So that's going to be the same for seasonal. It is a little bit confusing, but he said you can move items into seasonal from arena, but you can't move it back from seasonal into arena, similar to PvE. So you can't farm up items in seasonal and pass them back to your permanent PMC. Same thing for the PvE account. And he says here that some ref quests that send you into the arena will be unavailable in seasons. He doesn't say exactly which, so that does lead me to question whether you'll be able to get the theater container within seasonal or not, because that relies on doing a whole bunch of things within arena itself. The requirements have actually changed since I looked at it sort of 6 months ago or something. They did make it a little bit easier to do that, but theater container was one of the easier ways for players who are on standard accounts that do actually have arena to go and basically skip over Epsilon and not bother doing the whole Punisher series first. You get a really good container that's basically 10 slots. It's like superior to Epsilon anyway, and one more slot than the Gamma container with only having to do a few quests. So we'll see exactly whether that's in or not, but I don't think it makes too much difference. Modifiers apply only to PMC. This makes sense because it means your scav is not going to have the global modifiers that you've picked on it as well. This is how we suspected it probably would work. Number 4, prestige will not be obtainable on a seasonal character. So this was one question that came up in Tarkov TV. Nikita originally said no, and then he said, actually, we'll think about it and see whether it makes sense to have seasonal. And ultimately, it looks like they've decided to not have prestige. So who knows? I don't know whether you're able to finish the game, go through the main storyline and complete terminal. But as he said here, you won't be able to prestige, which means that your prestige is going to be basically exclusive for your PvP account. We do know that PvE is going to get its own prestige at some point. They keep saying soon TM. We don't really know when that's coming. So at the moment, it's on PvP permanent only. And then number 5, there was one of the perks in particular, allergic, which I really like the look of, to be honest. And what it says on the actual perk, just as a quick reminder, it says become allergic to 2 random items from the provisions or medication category. Now, when I looked at this one, there are so many items within that category. There's about 90 or something. And I was like, this is basically a gimme, right? Because like, what's the chance that you're going to get spiked with like 2 really annoying things? So what he said here is allergy works like in real life. You'll have to figure out what you're allergic to. Allergy applies only to meds, stimulants, drinks, and food, and does not affect medkits or CMS. When the allergy triggers, you first receive a hand tremor effect, followed by poisoning that deals damage to your health. So what this does is it alleviates the possibility of being able to get CMS and Serve-12 as your 2 items, which would really screw up your wipe, or to get something like Car Kit, Salewa, which would also be really annoying. So it's going to be things like ibuprofen, Analgin, painkillers, which would be a bit of a pain. I'll admit that. And certain stimulants. So if you get Propitol, that's also going to be kind of annoying. But hopefully you'll end up just getting you know, a can of Sprats and milk as your two things that you're allergic to, and it really won't affect your wipe. And you basically get 3 free points if you're willing to roll the dice a little bit. So it looks like the worst ones are not going to be there. There was a similar follow-up on this that Sergey posted as well, which is basically the same as what Nikita said, except for the allergic thing, he just said that effects range from hand tremors to severe poisoning, not instant death. So it's not going to be like you stick it in like the Abdul boss sometimes when they change the stats on it, and you have a 25% chance of just like instantly dying. It won't be like that, but it probably is going to be pretty debilitating. But I don't think it's going to be too bad because it's only 2 items out of a fairly big set. Even if you take out the medkits and the fix your bone packs, then that still probably leaves like 75, 80 items, something like that. So it's definitely one that I'm going to gamble with. So overall, I'm pretty excited to see what changes are coming. The thing about the Kappa container being changed as a quest is honestly really, really good. One of the things that really made me not want to prestige on my permanent PMC is having to get Kappa again. And now that really the only thing that you get for it is this permanent achievement, which I've already received, now maybe I would actually think about prestiging on my main account at some point, because once you've gone to complete the story and you've also got Kappa using these minimized requirements, then you can reset and you can go and do a different pathline and go and get Kappa again much more easily. I think this is going to promote doing prestige for a lot of people over on the permanent PMC, so it's going to be great. We'll also have to see about exactly what's going to happen with these new changes over on seasonal. I'm hoping that with these new changes, it does mean that more people are inclined to come in and check it out, because it feels like you're actually combat ready right from level 1, rather than getting stomped on by people who are level 2 and 3 traders, straight away and 1 week into the wipe because they've had more time to play than you. And especially with the armor limitation in this season, being able to get T45M, for example, right off the bat means that everyone's going to be able to face up against each other a bit more fairly, which is going to be interesting. The only thing that I'm a little wary of is whether this is going to accelerate the seasonal wipe too quickly and everyone's going to end up kind of at endgame stuff, or the armor and progression is not really going to matter and people are going to get bored because people are going to feel like, it's end of wipe or mid wipe like much too soon. But we'll see, because all of these things are going to be easier, right? So like trader levels are lower, you don't need to spend as much money to actually go up the levels, the hideout is easy to get, so it might mean that the progression is a bit faster. But given that seasonal is going to be every 6 months like a regular wipe, or so they've said, then maybe it'll still be okay. And because we've got the split between arena, PvP permanent, PvP seasonal, and PvE, maybe people then go back and forth between the regular main PvP accounts and seasonal after the wipe's kind of developed, and sort of 3 to 4 months in. That may help alleviate some of the issues too, because we're not all just playing on one account all the time. So I'm excited to see what's coming. I'm preparing myself for seasonal any day from the 28th of July, so we'll hopefully see some updates soon. I wish you all the best of luck when seasonal does drop. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comment section. As always, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as usual, have fun in your raids.